Hey gang, how's it going? Hope you had a great Easter. I know it was a pretty non-traditional Easter. Certainly was around my house. Easter Bunny was still able to come, which was a good thing for my 3-year-old. And she's already saying she's looking forward to the Easter Bunny coming next year, which is good. I probably ate too much chocolate. Probably had too much carrot cake. But I'm sure a lot of us did, right? Not much else to do, unfortunately. So, anyways, listen. This week we're going to talk about malaria. Okay? Sorry, I'm just trying to get this at the right angle. This week we're going to talk about malaria. Okay? So, I posted a PowerPoint. I just wanted to go over a couple of key things that I want you to pay attention to. Okay? So, if I kind of look to the side, I've got my PowerPoint open beside me. And I just want to point out a couple of key things that I really want you to think about or focus on or take away from this, okay? With everything that's happened, right? I really want you to come out of the class with big ideas, right? Kind of the big things, big diseases, big biotechnology, kind of the real big parts of this course that I think anyways are super important, okay? So a couple of things about malaria, all right? Now I know we've all been watching the news. If you go on any like website, they have like a ticker of how many people have gotten, sorry, my daughter's yelling in the background, how many people have gotten coronavirus, right? COVID-19. And I checked a few minutes ago there and it's like 1,800,000 people or something like that, okay? To give you an idea, in 2018, okay, we think about 228 million people got malaria, okay? So 228 million got malaria, okay? We're at about 1.8 million with COVID-19, all right? So that should put this into perspective for you, right? Now, remember, this disease is, it's not around in Canada, right? It's a sub-Saharan African disease. Most cases are in Africa, okay? The vast majority are in Africa. But some cases do exist right around the equator in South America, okay? Through India, places like that, okay? Basically equatorial type countries, okay? Now, remember, also in those areas, you've got big rainforests. Not a lot of people live in rainforests, right? Really wet, really humid, really hot, really full of mosquitoes, right? Which keeps people away as well, okay? Of those 228 million cases, okay, about 405,000 people died. Okay, so the latest stats I could find from the World Health Organization were from 2018. Okay, so if someone could find 2019 stats, they probably just haven't been compiled yet. But I certainly couldn't come across them, okay? The disease affects a lot of young kids, especially kids under 5. Okay, again, these stats are from 2018. Okay, about 272,000 kids under the age of 5 got it. Okay, so, that's the group that really gets affected. Pregnant women also get affected at a high rate as well. Okay. And according to the World Health Organization, okay, they said they spent about $2.7 billion on trying to control and eliminate malaria in 2018. Okay, so lots of cases, lots of people dying, lots of money being spent on this, okay? How's it transmitted? Mosquitoes, okay? You can't get malaria by shaking someone's hand, by kissing someone, by having sex with somebody. Okay, it's got a super complicated life cycle. Not like, I don't think mosquitoes' lifestyles are that complicated. Okay, they have a really complicated life cycle. Okay, I outlined that in the PowerPoint. You'll see there's a couple slides on that, how it actually happens. Okay, but basically, someone gets bitten by a female mosquito, not males, just females, okay? And it's a specific type of mosquito, okay? And it's the Anopheles mosquito, All right. Now, by the way, there's about 3,500 different species of mosquitoes. Okay, so not every mosquito carries malaria. Okay, it's just certain ones. And these Anopheles mosquitoes are the main vector. Remember that word, vector, right? A vector is, well, a mosquito. Okay, a tick, something like that, that transmit disease from one person to another. Okay, so the female Anopheles mosquito is the one that infects people. Okay, there are a couple different strains of malaria. Okay, the most common one, sorry, the, my PowerPoint just crashed on my other computer. That is awesome. Okay, the most common one is Plasmodium Falciparum. Okay, so you'll see that often written as P. falciparum. Okay, but there's a couple others. There's Plasmodium virax, Plasmodium ovale. Okay, those are the big ones. Okay, but Plasmodium falciparum is the main well, parasite that causes malaria. Okay. Now, I've embedded a couple of videos in this PowerPoint. Okay, I've embedded more than a couple of videos. That's going to go over a few things. Okay, so I want you to take your time and watch all those. One is in black and white from 1948. I'm a sucker for those old videos. You know me. Okay, it's a good one. All right. The malaria mosquito wanted dead or alive with like an Old West wanted poster. It's a good video. It's on about the 4th or 5th slide that I put in your PowerPoint. Okay. So how this happens, okay? It's a little bit complicated. All right. So you have your parasite. Okay. So you have someone that is infected. Okay. The mosquito gets infected. Okay. Once that parasite goes from the mosquito to the person, it goes into the person's liver. Okay. From the liver, it goes out into the bloodstream and it infects the red blood cells specifically. Okay. And then once it's in the red blood cells, that's when another mosquito can come and bite that person and transmit it to the next person. Okay. There is quite a complex picture of the life cycle that I took from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. I'm never going to test you on that. Okay. I'm never going to say, okay, outline it specifically. But what I want you to know is there's different stages in that life cycle it goes through. That's going to become important when we talk about vaccines a little bit later on in this little chat that we're having, well, that I'm having with myself, okay? So, again, the female mosquito gets the parasite. Okay, it actually goes into its gut. And when a mosquito bites someone, what happens is it kind of puts a little bit of saliva into you, right? So your blood doesn't coagulate, okay? So the female mosquito comes along, it puts in its proboscis, so its nose, that stinger, right? It basically shoots a little bit or regurgitates or puts a little bit of saliva into you, okay? And what that does is it stops your blood from clotting, okay? And then your blood will flow freely into the mosquito, okay? So what happens is the parasite, after it eats the blood meal, okay, the parasite moves from the gut into the salivary glands, and basically that's when it gets transferred from person to person. So once that next person gets bitten, like we said, it goes in the person. Those parasites go to the liver where they take over liver cells. That's where they replicate, right? And then they burst those liver cells. It goes into the bloodstream. And then that's when the person has the blood infection, right? Which then they can become, next mosquito comes along, bites them. It would get more parasite and just keep going and going and going, okay? Excuse me. So that's how that works. Okay, again, pretty complicated slide. I gave you the Coles Notes version, right? The CDC slide that I put in there goes over all the different cycles, okay? So you'll see that, okay? Symptoms of malaria, you know, you're basically really sick, okay? So you'll see them in there. the big thing what I wanted to talk about for a couple minutes is how do we prevent malaria? Okay, so as of right now, the best way to prevent malaria is to try to get rid of mosquitoes or stop yourself from getting bitten. Okay, so mosquito nets, okay, spraying with insecticides, things like that. That's the best way, okay, to stop malaria. All right. There are some anti-malarial medicines. Okay, so in other words, if you were going on a vacation to Africa, someplace where malaria is present, they can give you medicine to basically you take it and it stops you from getting malaria. Okay, but you got to keep taking it. It's not a vaccine. Okay, it's just a medication. Okay, so you go somewhere for a month, you take your pills while you're there, you don't get malaria. Okay, it's not a long-term like vaccine. Okay, I put a slide in about quinine. Okay, it's the stuff that, well, if you've ever had tonic water, okay, it comes from a plant. It's extracted from the bark of a tree from South America. Okay, and is actually what happened is when the Spanish came over. We're not going to get into the conquests and all that sort of stuff. Okay, but the natives would chew this bark and it would cure them of malaria. And so basically the Spanish took it back with them, okay? Because at this time in Europe, don't forget, there was lots of malaria as well, okay? Kind of really in southern Europe, Italy and Spain, places like that, they did have malaria. It's basically gone now, okay? But this was a cure for malaria, okay? So quinine is the name. We put it in tonic water. I've actually put in a little slide and a couple little videos about the history of tonic water. Okay, so if you've ever wondered why British people love their G&T or gin and tonic, I actually have a video in there about that. Okay, so my mom being British, many times when I was a kid, I would hear her ask for a G&T. Wasn't until I was older that I knew what that was, but I have the history of the gin and tonic in there. So enjoy the video, not the gin and tonic. I'm not promoting drinking gin and tonic. I'm promoting the video I put in there about the history of gin and tonic. Okay, basically it just, like anything, made it easier to drink. Okay. Vaccines. No vaccine. Okay. Now, one caveat there. A vaccine was just approved. However, not super effective. Okay. I put a video in there for you to watch, and I linked a article from a magazine as well. It is a vaccine. It's been worked on for about 30 years. The drug companies involved have spent about $1 billion. Okay. And it's just because it's so hard to make a vaccine. No great animal model. Okay. Malaria has that really complicated life cycle. Part of the time it's in the liver, part of the time it's in the bloodstream. So it's taken a long time to make this vaccine. Okay, and as of right now, they think it's only about 30 to 40% effective. And people have to get booster shots for it. Okay, so they've done a lot of testing. It's still really not perfect, but it is the actual first commercially approved vaccine for malaria. Okay, so they're doing all these trials on it in Africa. They did lots of studies. Well, they're trying, right? Like any vaccine is better than no vaccine. If you can even get 40%, it's not great. Like the vaccines we have, like MMR, are like 95% effective. So 40% for a vaccine really isn't great. But, 40% of, 230 million people or 228 million people is still a pretty big number, right? Like that's what, give or take 100 million not getting malaria. Okay, so that's a big deal. Okay, so like I said, I've put in a couple articles and a video for you to watch to learn a little bit more about that vaccine. Last thing I want to talk about, okay, there's been a big push in lots of different places to just get rid of mosquitoes. Okay? So if a vaccine is so hard and, there's mosquitoes everywhere, why don't we just get rid of them? Okay? And they're actually trying to do this. Okay? Now remember, like 3,500 different species of mosquitoes. Okay? There's like maybe 100 or so that cause disease. So malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, Zika virus. Okay, so I've put in a few videos and magazine articles about how we are trying to use CRISPR. Okay, that's that gene editing tool to basically genetically alter mosquitoes to take over mosquito populations. Okay, so we've tried it a couple different ways. So I've put a few of those in there. Okay, so simple example or simple explanation rather, what they do is in captivity they breed a whole bunch of male mosquitoes and they genetically alter the males. Okay, and they do this thing called a gene drive. All right, so simple explanation, like I said, you release these male mosquitoes that have been genetically altered. Okay, and when I say, release them, I mean you have to release millions of them. All right, so you release these genetically altered male mosquitoes and you hope that they outcompete with the wild males that are out there. And they carry a mutation. Okay, now some of them have a mutation where all the females that are born, if they mate with these males that have been released, all the females that are born are basically like an intersex. They have male mouth parts, so they don't actually have the stingers. They can't bite anybody. Okay, there was another one that was created out there where the females would basically have mutated wings, so they couldn't fly. So if they can't fly, obviously they can't bite anybody. Okay, and then there was another one that was released where basically all the males that were released were sterile. Okay, so in other words, if you just release millions upon millions upon millions of sterile males, when the females mate, they don't know that they've mated with someone that's sterile. They don't actually produce any offspring. Okay, so I've put in 3 or 4 articles and 2 videos about this that I want you to take a look at. Okay, so take a look at them. There's consequences to that, right? Like, what if something just goes, this works and something just goes extinct? Okay, so I want you to take a look at that. The one other one I forgot to mention, there's another one, and I've posted a video on there. I think it's a good one, where they try to make mosquitoes immune to malaria. All right, so basically don't kill off the mosquitoes, put in a gene that makes them immune to malaria. So the mosquitoes themselves can't carry the malaria. Okay, so this is the way we're trying to tackle this now. Not super successful. There's some evidence that they released some in Brazil. And basically it was this one in Brazil was supposed to be where basically the female offspring wouldn't be able to survive. And they've actually don't think it's worked because they've found some of the genes in the population that's flying around. So in other words, some of the females that were born didn't die. They actually were able to reproduce and then pass those genes along, and they've somehow overcome it. So yeah, teaching you guys in YouTube videos, it's not easy to do this. I'd love to spend hours talking about this. Some of you wish I wouldn't have spent any time talking about this. You've probably just fast forwarded me. But I want you to watch the videos and learn, because this is a big deal, right? Like, this is, if you Google how many people mosquitoes have killed, there's some people that think mosquitoes are responsible for killing like half of the people that ever lived on Earth. Okay, now there's a whole bunch of scientists say that's not true, but they've certainly killed billions of people. Okay, maybe 1 billion, maybe 2 billion, but all these diseases mosquitoes carry have killed lots and lots and lots of people. Okay, so it's kind of an important thing, right? And not to mention, we all hate mosquitoes, right? Even though we're not going to die of malaria, getting bit 100 times by mosquitoes sucks, right? So, yeah, all right. Last thing, Okay? On your hub page, there's going to be, well, this video, a PowerPoint, then a podcast I want you to listen to that goes into a little more detail than I did about genetically altering mosquitoes. Okay, it's called Kill 'Em All. It's pretty good. Lastly, you have an assignment. Okay, it's a case study, and it's talking about a chemical called DDT that we banned a long time ago. Okay, but there's some people that are saying that, in some of these countries, maybe we should bring it back. Okay, so I want you to read a case study about that. Think about it. Use what I've said here. Use the PowerPoint. Listen to that Radiolab article and come up with the answers. It's not a long assignment. More than anything, I want you to really think about your answers, okay? Because this is an important topic, okay? All right, that's it for me. All right, I've left you with basically your work for the week. I'm going to check in with you on Thursday morning, okay? And that's that. All right? All right, gang. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everything's okay. I hear my daughter coming up the stairs, which means it's time for me to log off. Have a good night.